What's up, everybody? I've got a new video I'm working on, and I'm not sure how to feel about it. It's a start to finish Blender file for 3D printing. It's a piece that I need myself. So this is the final product. Spoiler alert, I've already made it. And what it is a tray to hold screws as I take apart my 3D printers when it's time to do maintenance on them. Holds all the Allen keys and cleaning tips and stuff like that. I was using a popsicle tray and decided that the design was good but could be better. So this is what we're making. Anyway, yeah, so before we get into it, I just kind of want to give you guys the disclaimer. This is a beginner print. If you're not new to Blender, it might seem a little simple for you. If you're absolutely new to Blender, if you just downloaded the file, I am going to be moving quick. It's already over 20 minutes long, the video. I'm sure you clicked on the video, you know how long it actually ends up being. But it's a process. Any keys that I use are going to be shown in the bottom right hand corner of this video. So feel free to pause or go back or look at something. If I don't explain something well, please comment it down below. I'd love to clear it up for you. Anyway, so yeah, with that being said, let's get into the video. Gonna delete all the normal stuff, add a cylinder. Now, this is just sort of a reference shape. Depending on the number of vertices that you add is going to be how many pockets our tray has. I'm doing 10. I think the one that I use, the popsicle tray, has about 8. So I'm just gonna improve on it a little bit. Instead of using an array modifier, I'm just gonna use this reference shape and the vertices from it, and use Shift S to move our cursor to the selected vertice. It's this bottom right hand corner, cursor to active. Now our cursor is there, so when we add a new shape like a cylinder, it'll be centered where that vertex is. I'm gonna go with 32 vertices, makes a nice circle. It doesn't get too overly complicated. You know, this is a functional piece, not super aesthetic. You want to make sure that your cylinder is not crossing the center, or you're going to run into the next one. You can also hit Shift S and then 3, and it will choose that cursor to selected option for you. It does speed it up a bit. Okay, so you can Shift S3 just to auto select that that vertice. Well, maybe not auto select, select a lot faster. And just drop in your cylinders that we're going to be using as our pockets or our cups. They are essentially like a negative because we're going to use them to subtract from the tray once we've got the tray added in here. That is a modifier I'm going to use as a Boolean tool to cut those shapes out of our tray shape. I think initially right here I was just going to extrude that shape, but something funky was going on. So we're going to drop in a new cylinder with 10 vertices. We're going to make sure it's slightly wider than all of our cylinders, slightly lower than all of our cylinders, but slightly below the tops here. So that way when we use these cylinders to cut out the cups, it'll be cup shaped. I don't know how big of a deal it is, but here and here I have duplicates, so I'm just going to delete that. Just try to make sure everything's as clean as possible. The center shape, I don't know, I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. Maybe I should have. I I'm using a square, and then I'm going to divide the surface up into a 3x3 grid with Control R to loop cut, and then use the scroll wheel to add in some extra loops there. Just going to kind of give it some shape, make it a little more interesting than just a square. So now we're going to hit I to insert faces, I again to insert individual faces. I'm going to get the shape that we want. And then these are where the, I guess, tool pockets, they usually just hold little plastic pieces or Allen wrenches. SZ0 will scale it flat. You're essentially scaling in the Z-axis at no difference. I'm going to hide the tray with H so I can make sure that the inside of this is working appropriately. And then I don't want too much unused space. It's just kind of a waste of filament. And in hindsight, I'm really glad I upsized that. It was actually going to be too small. I'm going to make sure none of the tray faces are hanging out of the bottom there, but in hindsight, that was actually kind of a waste of time. I could have just deleted those faces because I'm going to make this one object anyway. Never mind, I take that back. If I use this to cut out the shape with a Boolean tool, I'm going to want those faces. Never mind. Okay, we're just making sure everything's flat. There's not too much wasted space in here. So like those cylinder cups, their bottoms can be lower. We don't want anything poking out of the bottom. That's extra bad. Okay, I think we're ready to cut out our shapes. So we're going to head over to our modifiers and add in under generate is Boolean. So we're going to add that Boolean modifier to the tray shape and then select the cylinders and apply that. And that's going to take those cylinder shapes out of the tray, and we can just delete those now. Now we have that cup shape pocket that I was talking about. We're going to do it again for the center tray here. So once again, select the tray body with the eyedropper for our object in our Boolean tool. It'll be the subtraction. Now, because the cups are already in that shape, maybe I could have done that in a different order. We're going to have to select these. They are the pieces of the tray that was in that negative space of the cup. So they kind of became their own shape there. We're going to go ahead and delete them. Just make sure you don't delete anything off of your tray when you do this. So I'm going to select this much of them, just so that way it's a piece of all of them. And then you can use Control L to select all of the faces that you didn't see when you just did your little selection there. And then you're good to delete those. I think next up, we're going to have to conjoin the center shape and our tray to make one object. I'm going to merge any bonus vertices by distance, but I didn't have any, so we're extra good. You can see the vertices from the cube in the center cut vertices conveniently where we needed them in the tray. It's these the ones around the outside. Now we're going to delete any faces we don't need on the inside. That'll mess with our printers. They get confused when faces kind of cross over. Sometimes we might have been all right, but this is just the cleanest way to guarantee that we're going to be printing what we need. So select any extra faces inside, like the bottom of the cube. It doesn't need to be inside the bottom of the tray. So I'm going to hide the bottom of the tray face. Oh, no, I'm going to hit Alt-Z to go into X-ray mode. Select the bottom of the tray, delete those faces. Looks like there was a duplicate, and delete those faces again. And then now I'm absolutely confused why I had so many duplicates of that face. So we will delete it again. Oh, okay. So you need to make sure that you got all the faces. I had a random escapee right here. We're just going to delete that. Take a look around. Okay. I'm not seeing anything inside of here that doesn't belong inside of here. On the inside, everything's red, and on the outside, everything is blue. Not right now because we're in X-ray, but if we turn off X-ray, everything is blue on the outside. This is what we want. Last step is I'm going to join these two objects together. The tray is still technically different than that center cube. So Alt-H to unhide, select the tray, select that cube, and then hit Control-J, and you'll join the objects together. And then here I'm just going to select those vertices from the tray and the cube and merge them. With M, you can hit merge at center because they're right on top of each other. It's not really going to matter. All right, I'm not sure that took long enough. So now I just want to make sure things are flat. I'm going to select everything that should be on the same level, all those faces for the top of the tray, deselect anything that I didn't mean to, like these center faces, using Control and Select, unselect some. I'm going to go back to the side view here after I make sure that there's no other surprises. And then SZ0 scales everything flat. Let's make it a bit deeper. I'm worried things are too shallow. I'm going to select just the bottom of the tray. It is one face, but it's an n-gon, which just means it has a lot of vertices. Well, a lot more than 4 vertices on the sides. So if any of those vertices are off, it'll distort that face. I'm going to scale the bottoms of all of the pockets to the same size. Kind of give a little bit of space between them and the bottom of the print, just so there's some structure between them. A feature I really like about the popsicle tray that I'm using is the bottoms are round, and it makes scooping out the just super small screws you have to deal with easier. So I'm going to use the bevel tool and give these a slope around their edges. And then in the bevel option that pops up after you bevel something, I'm going to increase the segments, and this rounds that shape. So now we have, a indented shaped dish. So when you are fishing out those ridiculous little pieces of hardware. They don't get stuck in a corner down there. Um, I'm going to bevel this outside corner. It's a really small detail, but not having sharp edges on your 3D prints, in my opinion, really improves the quality. I'm gonna smooth out this just because I feel like the corners are unnecessary. I mean, it's just plastic, but I don't know. You want something to feel professional in your hands when you're done with it, you know. So once again, bevel, throw a couple segments in there, round it up a little bit. That's a super small one, so it doesn't need too many segments. Yeah, that looks good. Looks smooth. Probably could smooth out this area a little bit, but it's not bothering anybody. Um, Probably smooth out the rim of those cups. Ooh. This is going to be almost unnoticeable, but if you could take a point off, it's nice. Anyway, so edges of these cups. Oh man. Alt Shift click will click a loop. So essentially the ring around the tops of these. But because we have breaks in the face or edges between them, you can't do the full loop. You kind of have to click all your objects. Here, I've realized that I have now selected full edges, the ones conjoining the loops. So I'm going to have to deselect those. Also a couple random vertices. So we're going to do 2 to swap into edge select. I'm going to use control and just select any edges that are not the ones we want. I think we're looking good. X-ray is a nice way to see what's selected. You know, that orange line is pretty fine, but you can really identify what's selected. When we use slope, or when you bevel this edge, you got to make sure that you don't run into the edge of the tray. It'll do some funky things that you don't want. Yeah, I think that looks good. I could probably fight this all day and make it a lot harder than it needs to be, but I think we're good to go ahead and save it and export it as an STL file. Actually, just remembered something. We need to scale it. We want it to be a specific size. So I'm going to add a cube that is 8 inches wide. So I convert that into millimeters because a Blender meter is a 3D print millimeter. Couldn't tell you why, just is. So we're going to scale our tray up to fit the size of our reference object, which is this cube. And then we're going to delete that cube. And I know that that tray is going to be 8 inches from point to point on the bottom. All right. Save it as an STL and export it into our slicer here. I'm going to be using the Anycubic today. And yeah, looks good. Hopefully yours turned out the way you wanted it to. And Yeah, no, I feel like it turned out pretty good. I've actually already used it once before. I'm going to go ahead and just throw that video right here. If you guys want this file, exactly what I've done, and print your own without doing all the work, I'm going to throw the link in the description down below. And yeah, so that will be available for you. Now, if there is something that you want me to explain better, if I'm moving too fast and you want me to slow down, or if I'm over explaining simple things, I would love feedback on this. I don't think there's enough start to finish workflow, simple technique in practice type videos, and that's what I'm trying to make. So yeah, I would love some feedback if you've made it to this point in the video. If you want to see some more, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to keep coming out with a video about once a week. Sometimes life gets the best of me, but yeah, usually involving 3D printing. Sometimes it's another thing. Almost always it's about Blender, so that's kind of what the channel is. And then, yeah, if you want to support or just let me know that this video was helpful in any way, a like would be super appreciated. And I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, have a good day.